Hello, and welcome to another Before I Play uh, series in which I talk about the game before I play it, which makes a lot of sense. So this time we're talking about Final Fantasy V, and let's just get right into it. So start with the basics. Final Fantasy V was released in Japan in December of 1992. It wasn't initially released in the NA market for like a handful of reasons. Final Fantasy 2 and 3 were never localized because of character limitation for the NES. 5 didn't necessarily have that problem on the Super Famicom. Or I guess on the Super NES. Uh, Originally, they were thinking of making it Final Fantasy 3 for NA, but according to Ted Woolsey, whose name I can never get right, who's a translator for Squaresoft at the time, they decided the game was a bit too difficult. As for Final Fantasy V, though, well, although we're sure it's a great title, it hasn't been a hit with too many people in our focus groups. Although experienced gamers love the complex character building, it's just not accessible enough to the average gamers. That's a quote from him. So they decided to go ahead with localizing Final Fantasy VI instead, while putting 5 on the back burner. The thought was to wait until there was a bigger audience and bigger demand for a tougher, harder Final Fantasy. The tentative name for that project was Final Fantasy Extreme, and it got pushed even further back, and it never happened, obviously. In fact, it wasn't released in NA until it came on the Final Fantasy Anthology, which comes with 5 and 6. Yeah. Which, obviously, I have right there. I also have the Super Famicom port, just in case I really didn't want to understand anything of what I was doing. I just want to point out how many copies of this game I have. I also have the Game Boy Advance copy somewhere over there. Anyways, why do I have so many copies of this game? Honestly, the biggest appeal to the game is the job class system. I've always loved job class systems, and 5 has one of the best, in my opinion. In the game, there are various jobs, like Black Mage, White Mage, Warrior, Thief, etc. And each character in 5 is able to swap out any of the jobs for one of the others, and you can mix and match as you see fit. Some characters have base stats that make them better suited, but honestly, it's not that big of a deal. It's more about which ones do you want to play with and which ones you want to interact with. You're also allowed to have a sub job where you take one ability from another job and you use it with yours. So, like a Black Mage that's able to use White Magic, or a Warrior that's able to steal. It makes experimenting with the system and playing with the different jobs to see what you like and see what is overpowered. And what works best with your playstyle. The way we're going to play it basically has a lot to do with the system. We're going to play it 4-Job Fiesta style. 4-Job Fiesta, if you don't know, it's an annual charity drive that is run by Eric Koziel. And it's basically the reason I keep playing Final Fantasy V and why I have at least 3 copies sitting around my house. The basic premise of the drive is that throughout the game, at various 4 specific junctures, you're going to be given a set of jobs. When you get to those parts, you tell the charity bot, I'm at this part, and they will randomly assign you a job from those chunks. You are not only required to use that job, those are the only jobs you can use. It kind of makes the game a little bit more interesting, in my opinion. You're limited with your options, which technically stifles your creativity, but it just forces that creativity in a different way. You have to kind of figure out the best way to play the card you've been dealt. There is a little bit more complex varieties that he's introduced over the years, such as like I forget exactly what it is. I think it's like no 750 or 750 only. I think I have the number wrong. I could probably look it up. But the idea with those is that staves costs a certain amount of money, and you either for that run you are either going to be full of a team that can use rods or full of a team that can't use rods. Now, why would that matter? It has a lot to do with how rods work in the game, and I don't think we're going to worry about that. But that's the thing you can do. Anyways, the drive is really interesting and really cool and really awesome, and unfortunately, I missed the window for the drive this year. But I still wanted to keep in the spirit of the 4-job Fiesta. I am not going to do a random team. I think even if I was going to do the drive, you get an option to basically just kind of hand the money to pick the jobs you want. And that's what I was going to do. So I'm just going to do that right now anyway. It's mostly just because since I'm making a video for it, I wanted to show it off, but I didn't want to have to deal with a scenario that either I couldn't figure out or it would have just been really boring to figure out. So I picked a team that are all classes I like and are not too broken, although I did pick probably the most, well, in my opinion, the most broken class in the game. That would be the Blue Mage. So there's the Blue Mage, the Mystic Knight, the Ninja, and the Dragoon. I don't really want to elaborate too much on why I think they work well together, and I don't really want to talk about the classes in this video. I want to save that for when I'm actually playing the game, because if I were to spend this time talking about these 4 classes, it would... this would be a very long video, and I'm not interested in doing that right now. And I think it'll be just much more interesting if, in the moment, I explain why I'm doing what I'm doing. But yeah, honestly, I'm really excited to show off Final Fantasy V. I think this is an underappreciated, underrecognized Final Fantasy. I get why. A lot of it has to do with the fact that we didn't get a version of the game until it came to the PS1, and we didn't get a good version of the game until the Game Boy Advance. So, to a lot of Western audiences, this is one of the Final Fantasies that just went right under the radar. Plus, it's kind of weird, and we will get into that for sure. It's weird. I like it, the weirdness, but it's not for everybody. I also did want to point out, while the Famicom probably runs the smoothest, I don't speak Japanese, so this is unplayable. I've tried so many times. I can't get far without confusing basic hiragana, or I don't even know exactly what the text is. I can't read it. So that's out. The Game Boy Advance is also out because I don't have a way to directly port it onto the screen. I could emulate it, but I'm not going to, for like a decent amount of reasons. One, I'm probably never going to emulate anything on stream or on video and put it onto YouTube. Just not going to. There are moral reasons to do, emulation. And I think because I own so many copies of the game, I don't really have a good valid reason to do it. Plus, most of the time, I'm okay with downloading or emulating games that are not available at all in any way, shape, or form. Like, this is the only way I'm going to get this game, reasonably. Like, there are some $300 PS2 games that I'm like, go ahead. That being said, not only do I own several copies, so I don't have that justification, they are doing a pixel re release of 1 through 6, and 5 is included in that. Plus, there's the mobile port, plus, there's already the port that's on Steam. There's too many ways to legally get this game. Now, why don't I do the Steam version? Well, because I just don't like the sprites. That's pretty much it. So unfortunately, the PS1 version remains as the best one to stream and record, but it's a bit laggy, a lot laggy, and I probably could save like an hour overall in gameplay if I did any other system. So sorry, but this is the way I'm going to be doing it. Just because it makes the most sense to me to do it that way. That being said, that's enough for the video. That's enough of me talking. And the next time you see me, we will be playing Final Fantasy V.